What's up, everybody? It is Elijah. Welcome to episode 3 of Tales of the Train Ride. Just another episode. This is the first episode that is just me today, so this is going to be a little bit different. But as you can see by the ugly Christmas sweater, and as we are approaching Christmas itself, I figured that there would be nothing better than to do this episode, the holiday special, talk about one of my favorite Christmas stories. But before we get into that episode, we do have a word from our sponsor that we do every week. And episode 3 today is sponsored by Manifesting the Right Things. Now, with the holidays coming up and the turn of the new year, everyone got their own New Year's resolutions, manifesting things they want to bring onto themselves. And honestly, lately, I have found a way to manifest a lot of good stuff, and I'm grateful. But occasionally, I will say, I want 2 things, and the lesser thing happens. Like, for example, I'll say, hey, I hope it doesn't rain when I go out today, and then I go out and it doesn't rain. But then I'm like, hey, I hope I find $1,000 on the floor, and then that doesn't happen. So honestly, episode 3 is sponsored by Manifesting the Right Things. May all the things that you want to happen at volume per quantity happen to you in the new year. All right, so the story begins around my 12-year-old Christmas. At this point, the PlayStation 3 was coming out, so I was super excited. I had my mind made up for one gift and one gift alone. Granted, I played the same 2 games, so there was no real desire as to why I wanted this system, but I was convinced that everything about the new generation, the new graphics, and all this stuff was going to be like the best thing ever. And I remember like at the start of that Christmas, just a very profound young Elijah decided to go to my mom, and I was like, I don't want anything else. This is what I want. Now, and to that point, my mom had just like described, like, yeah, it's fine, it's okay, like, for sure. Like, that was like the initial response. And as the year had went and we had gotten a little bit closer to Christmas, we had just recently moved, so a lot of resources were going into like changing of the house and stuff like that. And I remember I want to say maybe like November-ish kind of, my mom had sort of come up to me and was like, hey, I know that this is what you may want for Christmas, and I have an early birthday, so she was like, we may have to wait off until your birthday, and like really empathetic. And the one thing that I will say, my mom and I have to this day have a fantastic relationship, and one thing that I vividly remember about like just like pure compassion in my mom's face, sort of trying to relay like I think her disappointment and feeling like she had let me down. But fortunately, I think that at 12, I felt like that resonated with me, and my initial reaction was, it's cool. We got the holidays, we're spending it together. We had just moved. I was so grateful for the things that were around me. So although, yes, the idea of the prospect of getting this big PlayStation was a big deal, didn't mean more than the environment that I feel like we had as a family. And I was honestly just really happy to spend the time together around that time. So fast forward, we get to Christmas Eve, and we do, in my family, we do Christmas Eve. So we're opening the Christmas gifts like at midnight, so at the turn of Christmas Eve to Christmas Day. And while we're opening them, I see Christmas tree, our family's together. I had my aunts, and it was like a very like intimate sort of like gathering amount of people. It wasn't like this huge amount of us, but it was just it felt very close. And it was like the Christmas spirit was like at an all-time high. The music was playing, our Christmas tree was all fully decked out, there like the gifts underneath there, like it, I don't know, it was just something like this very like homey feeling of like, this is how the holidays are supposed to feel. And at this point, I'd sort of already forgotten my desire, as a 12-year-old tends to do, of what they may have actually wanted, and I was just excited to have spent the time with the family. So we start doing our gift exchange. We're opening stuff, and I am opening gifts, and I remember it being clothes and some games and other things like that. And at this point, I had opened I think earlier I had probably snuck around and went to go look for what had my name on it, as a young, mischievous, sometimes curious kid who tends to do. And so I had already picked out what I had known was mine, and I think had opened it, so I knew where I was looking for all the gifts and stuff like that. Pulled out everything, and it was maybe 25 minutes of all of us, my family members opening their gifts and stuff like that. And then finally, I remember my mom was like, hey, can you sit over there for a second? So we move over, and if for a visual, I'm going to try to describe this as best as I can. The Christmas tree was in the corner there's a couch that was like immediately diagonal to it. So she says, go sit down. I was like, okay. And at this point, I think I'm in trouble. I think me peeking at the gifts might have prompted some sort of thing that I had done wrong. And she comes over and she goes, I have one more gift for you. And at this point, it's all surreal. So I don't really understand what it could be. And she pulls out this huge box. And in my mind, it had clicked on what it could have been. And she walks it over and says, here's this, like here, open this. So I remember, and like, I'm 12. So at this point, the box is the size of my young adolescent body. And I pull like the top wrapping paper off. And I could see like it's saying like Sony PlayStation 3 going across the top. And immediately, like, I couldn't even open the rest of the gift. Like, I remember bawling my eyes out, crying, like, out of excitement and enjoyment. And I'm like, no fucking way. Like, well, I didn't say that. That's my older version, remembering that. But I was like, no, I was in shock. And I remember, like, I put the box to the side of me, jumped up, ran to my mom, and I'm hugging, crying, and I'm like, I can't believe, I thought this wasn't gonna happen. I didn't think that this was possible. It almost, like, I don't know, it was just this, like, weird, surreal moment, and it wasn't really about the gift, is that I already felt in, like, my heart that I knew that my mom had done everything to have made that work, and knowing that there was a chance that it wouldn't, and she went through such like whatever, and she had explained as soon as she was like, yeah, don't just thank me, this was everybody, and she pointed out like the family members who had supported and all these things, and I don't know, it was just this like moment of like to feel loved in the holidays. And yes, the PlayStation 3 was great and it was a blast to have, but there was just that moment where I just felt like this intense love from family, feeling supported, and I don't know, it's kind of like in a not so cheesy way, like the meaning of what the holidays are supposed to mean, like that support system being there, and it was really nice. And I just remember like immediately, like as soon as I had hugged everybody, like I had grabbed the thing, plugged everything in, tried to go set it up, and I'm like freaking out because I'm overwhelmed by all the emotions. And honestly, like looking back, that was probably one of my like more favorite holiday moments, just on the experience of like the closeness. And I feel like it in a weird way, it's like just a nice remembering of like, yes, the gift was nice, but the holiday moment of like that relationship that, you know, that I have with my family, and even in particular my mom, it was a blessing. So granted, this episode is going to be a little shorter and there's no other holiday story, but I will wrap this up by saying, you know, wishing everybody a happy holidays. For those who have been watching, I just, you know, thank you for showing those support. Please continue to do so. Like, comment, follow all the pages. All the links should be in the description of this video below. And yeah, and then I'll see you for episode 4.